Well, let's move to the U.S. South with a lot of parallels to the global South when you really look at how things have played out over the years. As you have heard before, if you are a regular watcher of Breakthrough News, rideshare drivers in Tennessee are waging a righteous struggle for their own rights. And we are very, very honored to be joined here on the show by Monique McClain, who is with the Tennessee Drivers Union, to talk more about this. Monique, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. I actually saw your name in the Washington Post in an article about the difficulties for working class people. So I was hoping to actually just start there. I mean, for those of you who were drivers there in Nashville and other parts of Tennessee, I mean, what are the working conditions? What is the situation like for you all?
So with Nashville, Tennessee, of course, we are in one of the states that Uber and Lyft have lobbied to remain unregulated and to have things go a little bit their way, leaving little to no wiggle room for drivers to have much say-so in their day-to-day life. We also have so many things that happen far as the inability to be independent contractors, being misclassified as independent contractors when we're still regulated by these apps on where they want us to go, who they want us to pick up, what we can do. So we have been pretty much using this alternative employment as a means for income because we're really big for tourism here in Nashville, Tennessee. And if you've ever been to Nashville, Tennessee, we're known for hot chicken and country music. So we get quite a few visitors here and we enjoy those visitors. However, with the ride shares, they have become a little bit difficult because not only are we competing with taxis, but we're competing also sometimes with the very company that we drive for.
So I wanted to ask you, with the latest developments, can you explain what led to this mass banning of 33 rideshare drivers at Nashville International Airport, and why you believe this is a case of retaliation by Uber and Lyft?
So on February 14th, everywhere in the United States and some surrounding countries participated in a national strike against rideshares due to the conditions that we face as rideshare drivers. The Tennessee Driver Union, along with its members, participated in this union at the Nashville Airport. It's the BNA Nashville Airport, and there were some odd, about 40, if not more, members who participated on this day. And we went there and did a peaceful, concerted movement together to go with the intentions of letting it be known that the rideshare companies were not only overcharging customers, but they were underpaying drivers. And on this day, we were met with some difficulty from the Nashville BNA area police authority by first stopping us and telling us that we have to leave, which we peacefully done. There were also riders that were participants as passengers in these vehicles as well. And so the following days, each of us that participated received messages from Uber and Lyft stating we were banned permanently. And this is the first time that has ever happened with any type of protest in any state. So this was very shocking that Uber and Lyft really did not give us any say-so. The banning was basically told there's nothing you can do about it. There was no appeal process. We weren't asked. We were actually given some reasoning that was so unrelated to that particular day. It left a lot of us confused as to, well, why did we actually get banned? We were told we picked up in the arrival. And there were many drivers like myself who were passengers who had our apps off. So we couldn't understand how is it that we were picking people up when we didn't even have our apps on. So that was one big issue that we had. And we found that our free speech was limited by the authority there, stating that One, it was distracting, though there was not much that was done that was distracting. It was simply just a drive-through. And we were later just pretty much tossed to the side and used as an example to others who want to speak out against these companies that if you do, you will be punished. And the airport is one of the biggest bulks of income for a lot of drivers here in Nashville, Tennessee, because if you are outside of the airport, you'll normally get rides that pay little to nothing. So the airport is primarily a place for a lot of people who are not only Uber drivers and Lyft drivers, but they're also Uber Black drivers and Lyft drivers, and they have a commercial relationship with the airport. We saw that us just speaking peacefully was a way for the rideshare companies to use this as leverage to get each of the drivers back in line without saying we're going to get you back in line. And they knew that because we were bold enough to step out, that word would get out that we were banned. And they could use this information, they could use that to their leverage to make sure that other drivers do not speak out. So once we were pretty much banned, the Uber and Lyft wiped their hands of it. They never really took responsibility for how to get it back. They basically tossed us over to the airport. And with little to no avail, we've not had any resolution to that. Some were restored, but a majority were not. And they've lost quite a bit of income due to this.
Wow. I mean, it's just amazing on so many levels. I mean, I don't want to be the conspiratorial guy, but it sounds like there's some tracking and some surveillance going on either through those apps or some other way with people have their apps off and somehow they're still getting banned. So that says something else. And just the whole thing, I mean, all these companies sell themselves, this is like freedom, it's gig work. You can do it when you don't, but I guess you're free to do anything except complain about their working conditions. One other thing I wanted to also ask you about too is, and you mentioned this in your first commentary, how sometimes you're up against these app companies themselves. And I think in the past, when we've talked to folks from the Tennessee Drivers Union, they've discussed that sometimes Uber and Lyft might actually be organizing to bring people from out of Nashville to drive to kind of dilute your ability to make income.
We do believe that part of this retaliation has to do with a bill that has been currently introduced by the Tennessee Drivers Union, which is the first, and it's the first for many drivers that this bill is introduced to reduce the number of out-of-state drivers, because each transportation outlet here has regulations, and we want to fall in line with those regulations so that we ensure we're all on the same page. And so what these rideshare companies, especially Uber, they incentivize people to come out of state and come here to drive because they're very aware it is a big tourism area. And so when they incentivize these drivers, the drivers will come here, stay weekends, stay weeks, sometimes days. And what it does is it oversaturates the number of drivers, which they're still going to overcharge the customer. However, that allows them to undercut the drivers in the process, because they don't have to worry about there being a lack of drivers. There's so many, they can pay whatever. I've seen some just as low as 17 miles for $6. And that's almost a slap in the face. You're basically giving a customer a ride for free, and the driver still has to get gas. And they're okay with that because they know that it's oversaturated. They know we can pay you whatever you will get and you'll take it, because what else will you do?
I mean, Monique, given the power and influence of Uber and Lyft and these pretty abysmal conditions they enforce on rideshare drivers, what strategies is the Tennessee Drivers Union using to fight back against these bans and hold these companies accountable for their treatment of workers? And I mean, I know there's this proposed bill, but what beyond that?
Yes. So we are, just like outlets like yours, we are speaking out, and we're doing this unafraid. There are a lot of outlets, not outlets, but a lot of drivers whom this scared them. And we're wanting to reassure them that you don't have to be afraid. We have numbers of people that are a part of the Tennessee Driver Union that is standing strong. Not only do we have the bill, but we have media outlets, we have meetings, we have different protests in other places. We are just going really hard using whatever outlet we can to let it be known that we will not back down, because we are strong and we have lots of people who feel the same way, and they are just being tired of being pushed around and treated like they're nothing, treated like they don't even matter to these companies.
No, I think that's absolutely crucial. And I mean, the other thing that also just seems really clear to me just from looking at the caravan and the protests and everything you all are doing is, I mean, this is such a cross section of the working class that's standing together. And I mean, that also seems really important to me at a time. People are saying, you know, citizens can't get together with immigrants, black people can't get together with white people, all these different things. And y'all, it seems to me, and I'm hoping you could speak about that, are just bringing everybody together.
Absolutely. We've got so many nations. We've got over 14 nations that are being represented in this. And some of them have never spoke out to an employer because, of course, when you're coming here and you speak another language or you're from another origin, sometimes you don't want to rock the boat. But we've got people here who have been assured and comforted that, no, we got your back. And that's what really matters, is that each of these people feel like we are a family. And if we don't do something about this, this is going to affect not only you, but your livelihood, your families, and your children. Because what if they decide want to do this? Would you be okay with them being in these same conditions? And a lot of them say no. They want it better because they want better for their children. And some of them use these outlets as their only ways of making income. So when they have situations for like being banned, and this is cutting into their household income, they are mad. And so it's gotten them so mad that they're saying, whatever we have to do to fight, we're going to fight together, because it means so much to me that not only is it not just a race thing, but it's a thing that we all feel the same about this situation.
Well, I'm curious if you could.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh. Well, one last thing I wanted to ask about is, for all those who are watching, a lot of people use Uber and Lyft. Obviously, it's like a massive enterprise. I'm actually speaking to you from a different country. I live in Lebanon, where people use Uber all the time. So even across the global south, Uber is used. And I say that just to say, for those who are watching who use these rideshare applications quite often, what, if anything, can they do to help boost these efforts to hold these companies accountable and to force them to treat their workers better?
Absolutely. So a lot of our words that we're getting out is, like I said, we're using media outlets such as TikTok, such as you found me on the Washington Post. We're using all these outlets that express our disdain with the airport and how Uber is treating us and our demands. Using those outlets and sharing those posts. And when you're in the vehicle with a driver, asking them, one, how was your day? I know it's rough. How are you? Just checking for their well-being, because some of these drivers are working 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So sometimes just a little compassion can go a long way for these individual drivers, because you don't understand what they're thinking about when you get in their vehicle. So if you see an article that expresses this problems that rideshare drivers are having, don't go on their post and say, find another job. That's not the solution, because if that's the case, we would all be looking for jobs everywhere. We have to fix the problem. Not only that, your driver, they depend on tips. They depend on this additional income, because though you may have paid $24, your driver only received $7 to $8 of that. And if you can just give $1, give $2, whatever you can, help that driver out. and let them know that you appreciate them because they're already going through enough with having to go home every day feeling either unaccomplished or feeling like they haven't done enough. Just like here, we have small grievances that we have with the airport down to we just ask you for clean bathrooms. That's all we're asking. Not only is it just clean bathrooms, but places to park so we can pick your people up. Just recently, we had a meeting with our local council because there wasn't even a women's bathroom for drivers. That's something I had to argue with them down about because why is it that I have to go to the bathroom with a man? Each day before I pick you up, you don't know what your driver is going through. So just showing a little bit of compassion, sharing the stories, even if you don't know everything about it, share their stories that you see on social media so that the word can get out. Because just like you found me, someone else will see that story.
Well, Monique McClain from the Tennessee Drivers Union, it's been an honor to have you here, and we really thank you for joining us on the Freedom Side.